I was wondering, why was Snowden different? Why was he willing to upend and maybe possibly even sacrifice his life? What was it about his upbringing or his background that brought him to that point? And the bottom line is, there's nothing. He has, his parents are divorced. So what? Half of Americans his age have divorced parents. He was in the Boy Scouts. So was I. I mean, he learned basic traditional American values of trustworthiness and honesty. And obviously, what he witnessed at NSA and at Booz Allen Hamilton was dishonest and with the American people. To me, what was intriguing was that if there's any one incident that really turned him against the NSA and the security state, it was a very picayune kind of moment. He was stationed in Geneva at the U.S. Embassy as a CIA guy, undercover IT, and he heard fellow CIA agents, he was at the CIA at the time, talking about how they'd flipped a Swiss banker whose records they wanted access to. And the way they compromised him is they took him out, got him drunk, then called up the local police and had him arrested for drunk driving, and then showed up and miraculously rescued him. And they were laughing about it because that compromised him to the point where he had to turn over the documents that he had the secret banking documents that he had kept from heretofore from the CIA. And Snowden thought it was absolutely disgusting. He thought it was un-American. He thought it was cheating. He thought it was underhanded and gross and not the country that he wanted to be from. But it's really a very basic example of it's a very standard bit of spycraft, not at all sophisticated. I mean, if you read Len Dayton or Frederick Forsyth, you've seen this and more. This is no big deal. So what is it about Snowden? I mean, I interviewed Thomas Drake, the other NSA whistleblower who I talked about in Washington, whose career was completely destroyed. He was an upper-level executive at NSA, and when he attempted to go through the system, reported his concerns about not only privacy violations, but also wasting of billions of dollars of taxpayer money on inefficient programs. Really, it was corruption. People were private contractors that were connected to the officials that were approving these programs were benefiting. He went to the inspector general. He did everything that you're supposed to do as a whistleblower. Nevertheless, they raided his house. They set out to destroy his career. They blackballed him. They destroyed his marriage. He ended up, and now he's working at the Genius Bar in an Apple store out in Maryland. That's where he works. And I talked to him about this, like, well, what is it about you? Why you? Like, what about all your? He kept saying, well, it was wrong. What I saw was wrong. And I kept insisting, yes, but what about your colleagues? They all saw the same stuff. They didn't say anything. They didn't think it was wrong, or if they did think it was wrong, they didn't think it rose to the level of something worth sacrificing or taking a risk over. And they kept, and I realized that after a while that he was just hardwired this way. It was just something about him. He couldn't put his finger on it. The closest he could get to was that he had been raised in Vermont, which has a spirit, which has local governance and town meetings and true, local democracy, and feels like, very intimate, and you feel like you're participating in your government much more so than perhaps in other places. But there was nothing, there's something about, to me, Snowden is a role model. He's what I would aspire, I want my son to be. Someone who does the right thing even when it hurts. That's the definition of integrity.